welcome back to Crafting and Crime Daily. I'm your host, Rebecca, and I recap live trials so you have something to listen to while you are crafting. Today, I'm covering the case of the state of New Mexico versus Hannah Gutierrez Reed. She was the armorer on the movie set of Rust, which was being produced, and the lead actor was Alec Baldwin. This was stemmed out of the accidental shooting of Helena Hutchins, the cinematographer on the set. This occurred October 21st of 2021. So, like I said, the prosecution has rested. Now, today I'm going to start my recap of the defense's case. But before I do, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. It's free. I don't charge you a thing. And don't forget, more importantly, the notification bell, because you don't want to miss a single episode. I record my recaps daily, unless something comes up, and you don't want to miss it. So the defense starts their case with the OSHA inspector, OSHA, and that stands for Occupational oh my God, let me get it out. Occupational Safety and Health Administration. This is a federal and a state agency. There's both components. So this guy, his job, he's been doing this for 5 years. He has a background as an Air Force mechanic, but he got into the safety aspects of the job. So his job is to go out and investigate worksite accidents. And what he does is he does what is known in the industry as a root cause analysis. And that's where you interview as many people as you can, you get as much information as you can, and then you do like a deep dive. Yes, we know that Alec Baldwin shot Helena Hutchins, but how did this happen? What was the actual cause? Like, when you boiled all the nuts and bolts down, we got the armor, we got management, and he gets into the nitty gritty. And after, based on his findings, he initiated a report. Now that report doesn't get finalized until after it goes up the chain of command to the chief of the Occupational Safety and Health Administration. And we're going to hear from him as well on the stand. So in this case, he interviewed 17 people from the set of Rust that had some kind of involvement with the shooting that day. The citations were issued to Russ Productions, LLC. His conclusion was that the management team was responsible for a series of failures that resulted in an accident. And he said this was beginning at the lowest level of management, starting with Sarah Zachary and going all the way up the chain. Now, he was asked about what the ultimate fine was, because they issue fines based on their findings. And he says they believe, because they appealed it. Rust Productions appealed the fine. The fine was $137,000. They appealed, and it was ultimately settled for $100,000. They just paid a flat fee of $100,000, and that was their fine. So I want you to listen to this. I started to write it all down, and I thought, I want you to hear from this guy what his findings were. So take a listen.
One of the required items is that the armor determines when training is necessary and if retraining is necessary based on somebody maybe mishandling a firearm.
Okay, and what evidence, did you see any evidence in your investigation about the armor, Ms. Gutierrez, attempting to attain additional training on firearms for the actors?
Not specifically attempting to retrain, to acquire more time for training, into my memory.
Okay, and was that did the employer, I guess, did Ms. Gutierrez Reed raise any concerns about not being provided adequate time to perform her armor duties?
Yes.
And what in your investigation was Rust's response to that?
Our conclusion was that those statements regarding not having enough time went unheeded and uncommented on.
By whom?
Gabrielle Pickle and possibly Sarah Zachary or Dave Halls.
Sarah Zachary and Dave Halls?
Yes.
Did you make any conclusions in your findings in your report about who the Rust safety official was on set?
We did.
Who was that?
Dave Halls.
And did you find any fault with anything that Dave Halls did?
So OSHA considers the entire management apparatus to be a single entity. And in this scenario, there are these three individuals who are part of this upper level of management. And Dave Hall's responsibility as the safety coordinator on set, we certainly found that there were a number of safety bulletin number 1 policies that were not followed or adhered to that would fall within his purview.
Oh. So what were your conclusions with respect to whether Ms. Gutierrez was provided enough time to inventory and inspect the dummy rounds from her employer?
We came to the conclusion that she was not afforded time to conduct her duties to the best of her diligence.
And who didn't give her enough time to do that?
She had been instructed by Gabrielle Pickle to focus on other tasks.
And did you determine whether Rust had any process to ensure that live rounds were not brought onto set?
We determined that Rust did not have any specific processes or procedures to prevent that possibility.
And why was it that was on the employer, in your opinion, versus the armor?
In that manner, the employer is asking an individual to perform multiple safety-related functions for them, while also telling them that they're spending too much time engaging in those safety-related functions and need to devote more time to other duties. And on that matter, we determined that to be maybe a managerial decision.
Okay. And did you conclude whether Rust management provided the armor, Ms. Gutierrez, with any authority on training?
We concluded that she effectively had no authority to make any sort of training decisions.
And in your investigation, was that failure to give the armor authority to determine training, was that a violation of any Rust safety procedures?
It was.
What was that a violation of?
Safety bulletin number 1.
So very interesting, huh? Yes, he had a lot to say. So I wanted to see, what is this safety bulletin? I don't know if you recall in the last show, I said, where are the standards here? Well, there's a safety bulletin, and I pulled that up because I thought, wow, I got to see this. So it is safety bulletin number 1, and this is put out by Industry-wide Labor Management Safety Committee for the Motion Picture and Television Industry. They are researched, written, and distributed by the Industry-wide Labor Management Safety Committee for use by the motion picture and television industry. And that is composed of guild, union, and management representatives that are active in the industry. So I wanted to see the bulletin. Wow. It's been revised. In December of 2023, it was revised. The safety bulletin number 1 is titled Recommendations for the Use of Firearms, Blanks, and Dummy Rounds. And then there's a safety bulletin number 2 that was also revised in December of 2023. And I suspect as a result of what happened here, prohibitions and special restrictions on the use of live ammunition. So I would love to be able to take the time to compare what it looked like back in 2021 versus what the revisions were. And I suspect I'm not going to be able to figure that out. But these are the guidelines. There's guidelines, people. And, management, basically what he's saying is management is responsible for following those guidelines. And I equated it to this, my experience in root cause analysis comes out of the healthcare industry. So perhaps you have a doctor that is negligent during surgery, and there's a horrible outcome, maybe the death of the patient. Let's just take that for example, and it's not due to, obviously the surgeon, was negligent, and he did something he shouldn't have done. The hospital always gets sued, and if you do a root cause analysis, you're going to find out that maybe he removed the wrong limb, something like that. And when you do the root cause analysis, you're looking for, did they have safety policies in place? Did they have procedures in place? Did they vet this doctor probably? Should they have hired this doctor? Did he have any other prior problems and issues that came to your attention and that you ignored? You know, it always comes back to the management of that person. Um, and that's why hospitals always get sued when something happens within them, because, they're the employer, they're responsible for putting safety measures into place. And that's why, um, especially in a surgical setting, you have, um, you have the scrub nurse who, before a procedure even starts, she talks about the name, the patient, the doctor, what the procedure is, and that's confirmed with the surgeon. And then they all, even before he gets in there, he marks the site that he's going to do. These are all little safety procedures that are put into place. And if you don't do those, then and management sees that they're not being done, it's their problem, not the doctors. Anyway, I don't know if that made sense to you. I hope it did. So the ultimate conclusion was that management on the set of Rust just showed a plain indifference to um, recognize the safety hazards that were present on the set of Rust. The officer went on to say that there were no procedures to prevent the possibility of live rounds getting onto that set. So the next witness was the head of the Occupational Safety and Health Administration. Like, he's the guy that's the top of the chain of command that has the ultimate review of that report. And in this case, he said he did review this report. He made minor edits, but no real substantive changes to this report. Um, he said that employers have to provide a sort of safe workplace, and that the investigator in this case went to great lengths to get as much information as possible, because this on cross they brought out, well, you didn't have access to this, and you didn't have access to this and this and this and this, and all the background film and all the, and they said no. But then on redirect, the defense brought out, well, you don't need that to draw your conclusion. You don't need to see the film. No. You don't need to see the fingerprint analysis by the FBI. No. So this witness was the person who decided to initiate the violations, and in the amount of $137,000. And he said that was just based on the statutory maximum. That's the maximum that they could have gotten. Yeah, interesting. And it was one of the largest fines in the state of New Mexico. So then we get Scott Elliott on the stand. He's a private investigator hired by the defense team, and he actually took the stand. He's a retired law enforcement background. He spent his time interviewing, he said, probably about 35 to 40 witnesses. He reviewed everything that was involved in this case. And he had some criticisms. He said the witnesses should have been segregated and their cell phones should have been secured. And obviously, Alec Baldwin was not segregated, and he was making phone calls on the scene. He said the officers should have identified key witness and started to preserve the evidence. He said there was no backtracking to find out where the ammunition came from. Yeah. And he felt like there was a delay in the search warrant of the prop truck and the PDQ company. Um, he says as soon as they got on the scene and realized that the safe that housed those guns and ammos was on the prop truck should have immediately, he said, crime tape should have gone around it and it should have been sequestered. Nobody had access to it. but that didn't happen. So on cross, it was pointed out, well, this is a small department. You were from Albuquerque, and as it turns out, 8 times more employees than this little Santa Fe sheriff's office had. He also said that interviewing someone that's been through a traumatic situation like what happened that day is not a good, they're not in a good frame of mind. They should have interviewed her some other time. She was not in a good mental state when she gave that statement. Okay. So, kind of self-serving testimony because as you pointed out, you work for the defense, you work for the lawyer, you work for Ms. Gutierrez. They're paying you to help with their defense. Yes, they are. The next witness on the stand, oh my God, Frank Cookie. I thought they said Kuski, but it's spelled Koucky. Kooky? And he was kooky. He he's actually an investment banker who has this side hobby. He has one of the largest primitive weapon collections in the country and is an expert in primitive weapons, 18th century weapons. And he said that the type of this 45 long, whatever this gun was from the 1800s and very popular on the sets of westerns in the movie industry. So they qualified him as an expert in firearm identification and ammunition identification. So then this guy pulls, I'm going to show you a clip because this is crazy. The lawyer says, so you have some samples with you today? And he's like, yeah, and he gets them out and he pulls this gun out. And the judge is like, whoa. So you have to see this and pay attention to what he does with this gun.
Sir, if you will, I'm sorry.
For these specific areas, subject to the ruling up at the bench. Thank you.
Yes, Your Honor. Sir, if you will, if you could, however the deputy handles this, but if you could retrieve the firearms from behind you.
Do it in public, and I will clarify that it is not loaded. Okay? The first is a real.
Mr. Kuski, are you able to take the cylinder out so you can show everyone also that it's unloaded?
Yes, I can.
Okay.
There's something important. And here is an NX revolver.
So, Your Honor, I'm going to object.
All right, first of all, everybody's nervous because you have not demonstrated to us that they are unloaded. So before you start showing us the weapons, make sure they're unloaded, including that one that you just touched.
Yeah. Do you need me to show that again? No, you can rewind. Rewind. Watch it again. Oh my God. Yeah. He points the gun at the judge. Holy cow. Yes. The whole time this is happening, I'm thinking, oh my God, this is not good. He's doing everything they said he shouldn't do. But he was asked, does it matter what position the weapon's in if if you know that it's unloaded and you're positive it's not? He said, no, you see rifle teams and military and they've got the guns with the barrel up in their military stance and they're marching. He says, if it's not loaded or it's it doesn't matter because you don't point it at a person. No, and I wasn't pointing it at the judge. I was pointing it between the attorneys and the judge, but it looked like he was pointing at the judge. I don't know what the jury saw, but anyway, when I saw that, I just cringed. I was like, "Oh my God, I cannot believe it." So this this bailiff goes ahead and they check the weapons and they they realize they're not loaded. They're fine. He has to show the judge the barrel and that it's empty and so then he does get to get down from the stand and show both a replica and the actual firearm that's made by this Italian company. What they look like side by side, the similarities. And he said one is a replica, one is the gun. And he demonstrated to the jury how you have to cock this weapon. And I thought this is the first time I've seen this, and I understood it. So I'm going to ask you to watch this. It's very, very interesting. And his conclusion was that Mr. Baldwin was not safe with firearms, as evidenced by that film clip where he uh, the director calls cut, and after the director calls cut, Alec Baldwin fires a blank. He should not have had a weapon in his hands. That's the conclusion of this expert. So that's where the day ended on day 2. Day 2. I'm sorry, day 9, 8, 9. Where are we? Yes, day 9. That's where it ended. So the judge told the jury to come back at 8:30 today on Wednesday, and they would finish up the defense's case. Now we don't know if Hannah's going to take the stand. I doubt it. I don't think she needs to. Honestly, with this OSHA report, I think that gives the jury enough to give her a pass. Like I'm with the jury. Well, I'm with the OSHA officer that this was a management failure, a system failure. They were cutting corners. They were trying to do this thing cheaply. This is the second time this woman has worked as an armorer, and she was making recommendations that they were ignoring. She was being intimidated by Alec Baldwin, in my opinion. And that's just my opinion, and who wouldn't be intimidated? It's Alec Baldwin. It's his production, and he's the lead actor. And he's rushing you around, and I don't know, system failure. I don't think you can hang all this on the armor. I don't think she deserves any time in prison, not one day in prison for this. No. I mean, is this ever going to happen again? No, I don't think so. This is not something that you need to put someone in jail for as punishment. So, in any case, the judge said that she expected the jury would hear closing arguments today. She said before lunch, I'd be surprised. Now, I have a doctor's appointment, but I will, once the closings are over, I will put up a verdict watch. I doubt we get a verdict today, but if we do, I should be home by then, and I'll try to cover that live for you. If I don't expect a verdict today, but because I think there's some discussion to be had about this amongst the jurors. Anyway, have a wonderful Wednesday. I will be live tonight on Craft with Me Wednesday. I don't know what craft I'm going to do, but yeah, I'll be live. Have a wonderful day. Tonight's live is at 7 p.m. Central, and I will see you there. Take care, everybody, or I'll see you tomorrow.